interesting concept. Well, the cat's back. Hey guys, welcome to a try a chapter video where I am going to be trying to read at least the first chapter, we'll see how this works, of the 10 lowest rated books on my physical TBR. And I am sorry, the cat is giving himself a bath right underneath the tripod and kind of shaking things. It might just feel like you're on a bit of a boat for a little bit. So I'm going to tell you what the books are, the 10 lowest rated books on my physical TBR, with a couple exceptions. Moby Dick is apparently on there, and I'm not going to be including the first chapter of that book on here because I actually want to read that entire book. There is an Agatha Christie as well, that is one of the lower rated ones, and I want to read that one anyway, so I'm not going to be doing the first chapter of that one. And then I think there were a couple that were like second, third books in a series, and I'm not at those ones yet. But other than that, these are the 10 lowest rated standalones that are not classics or books that I know I want to read. So I'm going to tell you what they are and maybe the genre, except I don't even know for this one. This one is The Heart of Memory. I think this one might be like Christian fiction. I will tell you guys more about them after I read the first chapter, and then I'm going to be ranking them as well. And I think almost all the books on this stack I got out of Little Free Libraries, so it's not like I've spent a lot of money on these books. Yeah, so this one is number 10. This is the best of the worst according to Goodreads. And then we have The Last House Guest by Megan Miranda. I think I started All the Missing Girls, but I don't think I actually read it. This is a thriller, and I do love this cover because it has texture. It's got the raindrops on there are actually textured. I think that's brilliant. And then we've got Mozart's Sister. I think this one also is Christian fiction. And then another Ruth Ware. So far they've all been Christian fiction or thrillers. The Lying Game. Did I say another Ruth Ware? Just at Ruth Ware. The Lying Game. Another thriller, I'm pretty sure is what this is. The Wild Girls. 4 Friends, a Luxury Retreat. It's Going to Be Murder. I don't pick up thrillers. I take them out of Little Free Libraries and then they sit on my shelf. So this is actually going to be a good exercise for me, I think. This one is historical fiction. It is The Little Paris Bookshop. Then we've got 8 Ghosts, the English Heritage Book of New Ghost Stories. So there's a bunch of short stories. I guess I don't know how long they are. Should I try the first short story? Yeah, it's like 15 pages. That's probably what I'll read out of there. And then I recently did my May TBR video, and one of the cards that I picked from my card game was to read, actually I have it here, what does it say? It says, find the 3 lowest rated books on Goodreads of your unread books. Either read one of them by the end of the month or unhaul all 3. And so these 3 are the lowest rated books on my physical TBR, and if I don't read one of these, I need to get rid of all of them. This is kind of where the idea of trying a chapter of these all started, because I realized there's quite a few low-rated books on my Goodreads TBR. Not that that means they're going to be bad, in my opinion, but we'll see. So book number 3, the third worst book, is Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. I don't know anything about this, but I am curious because of like the pirate theme. And we've got If Only by Jennifer Gilmore. This is the second lowest rated book. This one is YA, and I think kind of like contemporary. It has to do with a girl who has a baby at the age of 16. And the lowest rated book on my physical TBR is Unfolding by Jonathan Friesen, and this is, I think, YA. It may be Christian, I'm not 100% sure on that. So this has the worst rating on Goodreads according to the stack that I have here. So I think I'm going to read them in the order that I said them. So I'm going to read them like this. And this might take me a few days to read the first chapter of each of these, but I want to check in afterwards, tell you some thoughts, and figure out if I'm going to be getting rid of all of these or if any of them are worth reading through. finished the first chapter, first book, The Heart of Memory, and I definitely went and read the epilogue as well. It wasn't terrible. Like, I've read worse books, like completed books that I think were worse than the first chapter of this, but it definitely wasn't really gripping. I thought, based on the cover, this was going to be like historical fiction, and it's not. It's modern day. Our main character is a Christian speaker, and her home life is kind of falling apart. And at the beginning also her health falls apart, and then her faith is in jeopardy. Yeah, but it was just kind of meh. In the first chapter, all the main characters were like hiding things, and they were like the wife, the husband, and the daughter of the family, and none of them liked each other. And I'm assuming, you know, things kind of get a little better, but I'm okay to get rid of this one. So that means my next one is in a very different vein. We're going with The Last House Guest. I really like this cover. I know I just mentioned it, but the colors and the bumpiness. We'll see how this one is. So far, we'll see where this one falls in the rankings, but it was like mediocre. It really shouldn't come as any surprise that the first chapter of this was actually pretty good. Thrillers usually are pretty fast-paced, try to get you right at the beginning. So there's a party at the end of summer in like a very, like a touristy summer town, and right at the end, this one person that they were waiting for, the cops show up and say that her body has been found. So, you know, you're like kind of hooked, kind of intrigued. This one is definitely more interesting than The Weight of Memory, so that's going to go above it. Definitely that's the order of the first chapter so far. At this point, I have no problem holding on to this if I'm ever in the mood for thrillers. Like, I mean, sometimes I am, but it's been a very long time. But there's also more thrillers on this list, so we'll see where that goes, but definitely a better first chapter than The Heart of Memory. And then my next one here is Mozart's Sister, which is historical fiction, and it's published by Bethany House, so I think it's supposed to be Christian. I have very low expectations for this one. This one has one of the best first sentences. I love books that have good first sentences. My brother was dead and I couldn't find his body. So we start out with a prelude of Mozart's sister looking for his body. So he is dead. He died at 35 and she's 5 years older, and it kind of just talks a little bit about her trying to find him and the fact that they are estranged. And there's a man in the graveyard who hears that she's Mozart's sister, asks a few questions, wants to get to know more about Mozart, and she's like realizing how estranged they are. And then I think it's gonna go into like the past when they're younger. This is not the first book I have read about Mozart's sister. I also tried to read, I think it's called The Kingdom of Back. That was like a really popular one. That one had some fantasy elements. Oh, it is so cold down here. In the spring, it's like hot upstairs, cold downstairs. So I'm constantly putting on a sweater and then taking it off. Anyway, I think that I don't know if I don't like the story of Mozart and his sister, or if I don't like stories about music. I don't know. That other one, The Kingdom of Back, I DNF'd, not very far in. This one, I would put this, I think, where would I put it? Probably the bottom of the pile. Definitely, like the first sentence was great, but then the rest of it just, it didn't pull me in at all. I also kind of don't like it when authors do a prelude and then for the first chapter they jump back in time, because I kind of like unfolding a story, and now I kind of feel like I know how it ends, and even though there's probably more to it than that, I want to be there for the unfolding, not kind of be spoiled at the beginning. So that might be a part of it as well. But so far my pile is The Last House Guest. Oh my goodness, I keep wanting to call it guest house. Oh, whatever. That one's on the top. The Heart of Memory and Mozart's Sister. So 3 down and 7 more to go. night is fading. Interestingly enough, The Lying Game also had that cool textured, like it's a matte cover, but then it has glossy spots. Anyway, The Lying Game, it didn't capture my attention. Ruth Ware is, I think I've read only 1 or 2 of her books all the way through and like skimmed another one. She's a very mediocre author for me. She is only a get it out from a little free library kind of author, or like try her if I get her books for free, which is where this is from. Yeah, I did not enjoy this. I mean, no, I didn't. It just didn't catch me. Like, it's supposed to be a thriller, it's supposed to be gripping, and it wasn't. At the same time, it's a kind of more interesting first chapter than some others. I'll maybe put it in between these ones. It will be number 3 on the stack as of right now. And then my next one is another thriller. I've got The Wild Girls. Oh yeah, this one. 4 Friends, A Luxury Retreat is Going to Be Murder. It sounded a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to read it tonight or if I'm going to read some other stuff for now, but I want to try to get through this stack in the next day or 2. There's not a whole lot there, but I want to actually read some books that I'm actually enjoying and not just books that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. But I've got 4 down, 6 more to go. I managed to read the first chapter of 2 more this morning. There's a cat. Can you move, kitty? Hello. The first one was The Wild Girls, and this one is a thriller, like I said, and it opens up with, first of all, the font seems really large. It's not a large font, large print book. Okay, we'll just keep talking even though there's a cat there. It starts out with a main character, I don't know how many main characters there's going to be. Let's see here. Starts out with after. So once again, we've got like the ending. Oh yeah, so I read the after and then I read the first chapter, I think, as well. So the after, we're in an African like B&B kind of idea or something, and there's a bunch of bodies. The prologue starts out with Grace, so I think our 4 friends are going to be the main characters here. We start with Grace. She's invited to Felicity's 30th birthday party in Botswana, and something is going on like with their past relationship that, you know, I don't know. I've never read so many like thrillers kind of in a row, but it definitely has, like, what I'm realizing are some fairly typical thriller vibes. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Ruth Ware's The Lying Game chapter in some ways, but I was more interested. So if I had to pick where this is gonna go in my stack thus far, see, like, I think thrillers have a little bit of a head start because the first chapters, or first chapter and a bit, are a little bit more interesting. I think I would put it like this so far. And then I also read the first chapter of The Little Paris Bookshop, and I really did not enjoy this first chapter. I think we're modern day. Something made me think that we were modern day. Oh, because he's talking about like George Orwell's 1984. I guess it doesn't say when it is, but I think we like flip to the past maybe after. I don't even know. I don't know. It was confusing. I can't even really tell you what was happening. Somebody is getting like evicted or kicked out of their apartment because their husband left. I don't really know. And then this main character in this chapter is trying to get a table for this person that's getting kicked out because she has no furniture. And he has to go through this room with a lot of books. Now it's really bright. And he hasn't been in this room for like 20 years. And I don't know. I was not interested. I would definitely put this near the bottom. I just dropped the entire stack. Okay, no, just the 3. I think I had it like that. And then these 2. The Lying Game is too small to be doing this. The Little Paris Bookshop, I would put... Oh, probably at the very bottom. Then this is what we're looking like right now. The Last House Guest, said that right? The Wild Girls, The Heart of Memory, The Lion Game, Mozart's Sister, and The Little Paris Bookshop. So there are 4 more books left. All right, the book goes this way. 8 Ghosts. So they actually, there was 8 different authors who were given a bunch of English heritage sites to choose from to write a short story, a short ghost story about, which is an interesting concept. Well, the cat's back. Tolkien, move. I read the first short story and it wasn't great. Are the rest of them going to be like that? I don't know, different authors, etc. But I keep knocking over my stack. I would put this one, where would I put it? Oh man, I mean, they're short stories. So it's kind of like less commitment, it feels like, than some others. I'm gonna put it between The Heart of Memory and The Lion Game, I think. Well, that's where I'm putting it. So now I'm down to 3, which means I'm down to the 3 lowest rated books on my physical TBR. And these are the 3 that I had pulled for my mini TBR. So I'm technically supposed to read an entire one of these or unhaul all 3. We'll start with the first chapter and then go from there. I'm very curious about each of these. They're very different, so they're like, you can't compare them at all. But I'm curious. I finished these 3 in pretty quick succession. Pirate Latitudes, just plain old boring. We're getting introduced to the, what was he, the governor of Jamaica? He did not sound very, the governor of Jamaica. Talked about his bald spot and his makeup running down his face because he's so warm. So, pretty terrible. I think it deserves the bottom spot, like so. And then the next one is If Only. This one is about a teenager who's pregnant and is going to give up her daughter. And it's an interesting topic. The first chapter was not overly stimulating. Didn't really pull me in, didn't make me root for anyone. Where would this go? Oh, I still think it's better than some of these other ones. I'm gonna put it here, like so. And then the last one is Unfolding. This is when a baby fell from the sky onto somebody's yard and the neighbors tried to claim her, but the yard it fell on, they kept her. And then in the morning there was also a cow and something else on the yard. So very weird. It gets bottom spot because of weirdness level. So we've got The Last House Guest, The Wild Girls, The Heart of Memory, If Only, 8 Ghosts, The Lion Game, Mozart's Sister, The Little Paris Bookshop, Pirate Latitudes, and Unfolding. I'm gonna put these down before they fall. And my final thought is I don't really care if I get rid of all of these. I don't think I would miss any of them. So I think I'm gonna put them into my little free library here shortly. I was going to like pull all the stuff that's in there already out and give it a little bit of a facelift by adding a bunch of new books in. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna say goodbye to all 10 of these. If you guys have read any of these and enjoyed them, I'd be curious to hear from you in the comments. Yeah, so this was one part of a mini part scale back of my TBR shelf. I will be doing a few other videos and activities to try to pare down all the books I got going on here.